How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing how to swing trade off of technical setups rather than looking into the due diligence as much. So this is my favorite technical swing as of right now. This is ZVIA. I'm going to explain to you guys what about this technical setup makes this such a perfect swing, such a good, opportunity to accumulate a position before a pretty big breakout. Let's get right into it. As you guys can see, this is the weekly chart over here. We have been accumulating for a minute before it began to break down under this 330 level, broke down all the way to 60 cents, where market makers just grabbed all this liquidity from retail, just stopping out, faking out, and then they ripped it all the way back up, all the way back to $5. So it was a pretty crazy move. Market makers just stopped retail out consistently for weeks and weeks and weeks until so much liquidity was grabbed, and then they ripped the price all the way back up, grabbed liquidity to the upside again, brought it down to 187. And this is where I think the setup is finally solid enough to trade. I have been watching this ticker for I'd say maybe about 5-6 months, but now is finally the moment where we are finally ready to see a pretty big breakout, in my opinion. I'm looking to take entries around this 330 level, depending on how we come down to consolidate around 330. But I think we can easily see a breakout to $5 plus here, just based on the technicalities alone. This has been in a standard accumulation range for about 2 years now, maybe just a little bit above 2 years. We came down, grabbed liquidity to the upside, grabbed liquidity again, and now we are finally breaking above that 330 level that we considered strong support a good 2 years ago. So we are finally getting above that. This 330 candle close on the weekly was very, very strong in my opinion. And I think entries around 330, depending on how the daily sets up as of now, are going to be very, very strong. I think we can see a move to the upside all the way to $5. Now, based on the technicalities alone, I've seen setups like this perform very, very well. So in my head, when I see this weekly chart and I'm looking at this ticker, I've been trading for well over 5 years now. If you can go look at my very old YouTube videos, you'd be able to see me talk about very, very weird swing setups, very, very weird swing charts. But eventually, after so many years of just looking at swing trades and certain setups, you're able to say, okay, wow, I just saw a setup very similar to this perform very, very well. And me looking at this setup, this is a very, very nice technical setup. I think it's one of my favorites across the entire market for a penny swing. It looks amazing. The fact that we grabbed liquidity, the fact that we just broke above a key resistance area, the fact that on the weekly it looks like supply has just started to exhaust. Take a look at this volume. We broke out with very, very strong volume, came down, consolidated on such weak selling volume, and now we are breaking above the key resistance area with strong buying volume. So just look at this: low selling volume, high buying volume. Yeah, this is a beverage company. I'm going to get into some details right now on what the company is actually, how it's actually performing. But yeah, as for the chart, amazing setup. The volume is great. The resistance area that we're breaking above is great. The accumulation we've been trading in for a while is great. I do think it's finally the time where we see a breakout above 5. It's been 2 years. I think a breakout to 7, 8, 9 is coming, but there really aren't much catalysts that we can go over to where we can confirm that. But we can get into the institutional holdings. Firstly, 50% institutional ownership, fantastic. That's exactly what we want to see. They just beat their most recent earnings. They had a net loss of 6.4 million, but they beat the expectations, which is good enough for a stock of this caliber. Let's see, what did I want to go over here? Here you guys can see they have not been that consistent with their earnings. And they don't really have much catalysts coming up either. And that's why I said this is not a swing trade based on fundamentals as nearly as it is based on the technicalities of the stock itself. But yeah, they aren't consistent with their recent earnings, but they did beat the last one. And if we take a look at their balance sheet, you guys can see $27 million in cash, $1.25 million of total debt. Now, amazing cash to debt ratio. They have a negative operating cash flow, but it's just under a million. It's really not much. Just one earnings could easily turn that around. As you guys can see, 68% institutional ownership. It's not going to be consistent with other websites, but it's well over 50%. Not too high of an insider ownership. It's only 9%. But when you have such a big institutional ownership, such as 50%, it doesn't really matter what the insider ownership is. So yeah, as I said, there's really not much catalyst. I looked into the company. There's not much due diligence to back this up, but just based off the technicalities alone and how it's consolidating, how it has been accumulating for years, this liquidity being grabbed by market makers just came back down over here after this massive run, based around 187, and now it's starting to build back up to that almost $4 level. I think this is a great setup. I'm going to be eyeing those entries at 330 depending on how it sets up in the upcoming week, but I think 5 plus is very possible here based off the technical setup alone. And yeah, I've made many videos in the past where I talk about swing trades and I go through their due diligence, their fundamentals, talk about the catalysts they have coming up. And that's when my focus isn't really on the chart, but it's on the fundamentals and the technicalities of the company, not of the chart. But in this video, this is a swing trade that I'm considering to be a very possible 50 to 100% gainer just off technicalities of the chart, of the setup, and not the fundamentals of the ticker itself. So if you guys want to watch videos on me going through the due diligence of a company, the catalyst that it has coming up, I made plenty of those in the past. Just scroll back down. But yeah, this is how I would eye a very solid swing based off the chart alone. I hope you guys learned something from this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.